Part 2. Cultivating a relationship with your breath. Ānāpāna, the foundation of Vipassana Meditation. Ānāpāna, or mindful breathing, is a foundational practice in Vipassana meditation. This technique is simple to follow and can be easily integrated into everyday life. By directing the mind's attention to the natural breath, one can achieve a state of calm and centeredness, or groundedness as we might call it. Ānāpāna meditation involves observing the natural breathing cycle as it enters and exits the body, fostering a quiet and concentrated mental state. The primary focus in Ānāpāna meditation is on the sensations around the nostrils. There is no need for instructions or counting or visualizations. It's simply just you and your breath. So this technique is invaluable for establishing a meditation practice because the breath is always present. A way to think about it is, if you are not breathing, then you're not alive. And if you're alive, which you are if you're breathing, meditation is therefore a benefit to offer some grounding. So there are 3 areas of distraction that I'd like to cover. And this is craving, aversion, and ignorance. These 3 distractions are the primary factors that keep sentient beings bound in suffering. They form the foundation for all other mental states that cloud the mind and manifest in unhealthy ways, such as anxiety, fear, anger, jealousy, desire, and sadness. So let's start with craving. Craving arises in response to pleasurable sensations. It is a mental state where we attach to positive experiences, happy memories, or the desire for something better. Craving is not inherently wrong. So I really want to emphasize this, that we are not ever in this practice making a judgment on if something is right or wrong. We are simply observing. So, to re-emphasize, craving is not inherently wrong. It is innate in both nature and culture, driving our need for self-preservation and comfort. However, craving becomes problematic when we are not mindful of the present moment. It creates suffering by leading us to constantly imagine being elsewhere or experiencing something else, resulting in discontentment with where we are. Craving and clinging to pleasurable experiences ultimately leads to suffering because all experiences are impermanent and do not result in lasting well-being. And you see this a lot with the capitalist model of consumption and growth. It's just craving and clinging to these experiences. And it causes problems. Aversion. Aversion is the opposite of craving. It arises from unpleasant experiences and is the mental state of wishing that certain experiences were not present. We often label unpleasant sensations, thoughts, or events as bad or wrong, and we try to avoid them or escape them. This avoidance is especially noticeable in individuals haunted by trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, moral injury, burnout, compassion fatigue. But avoidance is especially noticeable in individuals haunted by trauma, who may react by becoming emotionally distant, abusing substances to separate, or engaging in other self-destructive behaviors. This can be anything from risk-taking to negligence to outright abuse. Aversion and craving are interconnected. When we experience discomfort, we crave relief through pleasurable experiences. So these two distractions often coexist, with the aversion fueling our cravings. So we often will get a sense of an aversion and seek a craving as a counterbalance. Now, this is not happening on the conscious level. These are unconscious experiences. And part of the reason for grounding through this practice is to just start to be able to calm your body and calm your mind, calm your experience, so that you can start to observe things about what's going on a more objective level. So the third area of distraction is called ignorance. Ignorance in this context, in context to this course, refers to a lack of knowledge or wisdom. So it is the distorted perception through which we view the world. We can become aware of our ignorance by recognizing how little we truly know. So, to review, craving is seeking pleasure or satisfaction or self-preservation. Aversion is avoiding those experiences. And ignorance is the things we do not know or do not realize. I'll take this out of a human context for a moment, but one thing I tell a lot of my music students is that there are sounds currently happening, either in the high frequencies or the extremely low frequencies that human beings just cannot hear. While there are some animals that are hearing these sounds, in fact, some of these animals, that's where their hearing spectrum is. And so we as human beings are ignorant to these sounds. We can even be cognizantly aware that they're there, but we don't hear them, at least not without assistance. And we don't, as a general layperson, don't think about them, even though they're going on currently, right now, where you are. So that's just an example that I use for ignorance that's sort of an easy to understand, judgment-free experience. We're now going to talk about the characteristics of phenomena. So these characteristics are impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and the concept of non-self. So impermanence asserts that all conditioned existence is transient, fleeting, and inconstant. All physical and mental phenomena arise and dissipate, some quickly, some over long periods of time. The aging process, for example, illustrates this dynamic through human life. Nothing lasts forever. Everything eventually decays. Another characteristic is unsatisfactoriness. Unsatisfactoriness points to the underlying dissatisfaction and discomfort in everyday living. Early translators of Buddhist texts often referred to the Pali word dukkha as suffering. But modern scholars have started to prefer the term unsatisfactoriness to capture the broader, more subtle aspects of dukkha. So sometimes, I use suffering in this course just because it's the word that is one of the most translated, suffering, misery. However, it is starting to become a push that unsatisfactoriness might be a more nuanced analysis. It's not that you are literally in pain and agony, it's just there is a sense of not feeling satisfied. So unsatisfactoriness can be categorized into 3 types. So unsatisfactoriness from suffering. This includes the physical and mental pains of birth, aging, illness, death, the sadness that arises from various undesirable circumstances. The second is unsatisfactoriness from change. This occurs when a positive or enjoyable experience transitions into a negative one, especially when the causes of the pleasant experience come to an end. And then there's all-pervasive unsatisfactoriness, and this reflects a deep dissatisfaction that pervades all aspects of existence, arising from the impermanent and ever-changing nature of life. This is where you have those moments of sort of a blast of depression when you think about the world and it gets to be too much. Or you think about just the heaviness of human mortality. The third characteristic of phenomena, according to this tradition, is the concept of non-self. And non-self refers to the concept that there is no unchanging permanent self or ego or essence in any phenomena. The belief in a permanent self is a significant source of unsatisfactoriness as it leads to attachment and the illusion of stability in a constantly changing world. Recognizing the absence of a permanent self is key to understanding and overcoming the inherent dissatisfaction in life. So, to review, there's impermanence, which is the phenomena that life is always changing. It is never consistent. There is unsatisfactoriness, which is the underlying discomfort or dissatisfaction in everyday life. And then the phenomena of non-self, meaning that there is no continuous self. As we are part of nature and we are impermanent. And there can be an unsatisfactoriness to that knowledge and self-awareness. So being aware of these phenomena is one of the basic parts of understanding why meditation is helpful in a very healthy and practical way. So if you notice, it's just giving names to experiences that we have. So the 3 areas where we get distracted really come down to we're having a craving towards something, we're having an aversion from something, or we are ignorant from something. So that is why when we breathe and we're practicing Ānāpāna breathing, when we realize we're experiencing a craving or an aversion or ignorance, which is a harder one to recognize and identify from personal point of view. But that's why you're going to be distracted in one of those 3 areas, and you bring your attention back to your breathing. And you bring it to a concentrated point. And also understanding that these distractions come in the form of impermanence, that life is changing, These distractions come from a sense of unsatisfactoriness with the world, and these distractions come from within, with that we don't know ourselves because we haven't understood the nature of ourselves, which is that we are always changing. Now, I'll put it this way before we get into the meditation. Consider who you are today, and consider who you were 10 years ago. Were you the same person 10 years ago that you are today? Now, I'm going to make an assumption because I cannot hear you as I'm recording this, and we're not talking in real time, but I'm going to make an educated assumption that you are not the same person that you were 10 years ago. And so this can mean a couple of things. It can mean a lot of things. Are you the same person mentally as you were 10 years ago, as you are today? Is your physical body different? Are you in a different shape or a different age, a different environment? You know, if you've worked in a harsh environment, that's going to have an impact. If you've worked around water for 10 years, or if you've traveled, or if you've been homeless, if you've started exercising, if you've stopped exercising, you know, these are all things that happen to the physical body, to our bodies. But then there's also the mental. Think of where you were 10 years ago. What did you know? What don't you know? And so the reason I put it that way is, when did it change? Was there a moment that all of a sudden you were who you are today? Or did it happen gradually? The point that I'm going to put out there is that it happens gradually. And by acknowledging that and identifying that, it can start to give ourselves some grounding about the nature of things. We just know what we're looking at, as opposed to flinging into the darkness. This is just a way for some grounding. And so with that, let us begin by closing our eyes. Begin deep, natural breathing, bringing attention to the sensations on the triangle area behind the nose. Begin deep, natural breathing, bringing attention to the sensations on the triangle area behind the nose. Begin deep, natural breathing, bringing attention to the sensations on the triangle area behind the nose. And the moment you become aware that you might be distracted, the moment you become aware that you're distracted or feeling distracted, simply bring your attention back to the deep breathing, bringing attention to the sensations on the triangle area behind the nose. The moment you become aware that you are distracted, begin deep natural breathing, bringing attention to the sensations on the triangle area behind the nose. It is okay when distractions happen. Distractions are going to happen, whether you want them to happen or not. And so all you have to do is just observe, no judgment, but just observe. When you notice these distractions, a distraction can be my voice. A distraction can be an itch somewhere on your body, or a thought of something that happened, or imagining something that could happen or might happen. But the moment you become aware of being distracted, simply bring your attention back to natural breathing, bringing attention to the sensations on the triangle area behind the nose. No counting, no objects, no time. Just breathe at a natural pace, observing any sensations that you may be feeling on the triangle area behind the nose. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be free from suffering. May all beings be happy.